How's it going again? I took this time out to make another video because I felt like my first video this morning wasn't really on point, so I wanted to give you something a little better today. I was thinking about past relationships and an ex-girlfriend that I had, and call this ex-girlfriend woes. So I met this girl at a country line dancing bar, and we dated for about 2 years. So I don't really play the field that much. I've had two serious committed relationships. I'm not gonna say I've really had that much experience, but I think I know people and I listen to other people's relationships, so I kind of have a good idea of what a relationship should be. But I think that most relationships would be built on honesty, trust, and boundaries. I like boundaries. I'm a very independent person, and I feel like some people, they don't understand what independence is. They say they're independent, but they're not. They're completely codependent. But that's not the point. All right, so I met this girl at a bar, and one thing I like to do personally is I like to tell a girl three things about myself when I meet them, because any girl that's potentially interested in myself needs to know three things about me before they pursue a relationship, because it will come out eventually. And I think that, in any kind of relationship, open discussion and open lines of communication from the beginning are essential for a successful relationship. So the first thing that I told this girl was the three things that I tell everybody. I said I have two kids, I've been to jail, and I smoke pot. Now I'll elaborate on all three of those points, because most girls, whenever I tell them that, they're like, "Whoa, okay." I currently smoke pot. Obviously, that was a current statement. I don't think there's an issue with that. Most people drink alcohol. It has more debilitating effects on the body than marijuana in most cases. Some people can have allergic reactions to marijuana, but it's very slight in number. So currently smoking pot. I don't think that's a big issue for most women, but some people have issues with that. So be straight out the door with it. So I smoke pot. I've been to jail, not adult jail, juvenile detention, but it affects who you are. I think no matter if you went to an adult jail or a child setting detention facility. I believe that not having control over what time you eat, what time you go to bed, what activities you're allowed to do throughout the day, being able to even go out into the next room and use the restroom at your will. You have to ask for permission to do all sorts of things. So you kind of get more of a routine. I think people who have had an institutionalized life have somewhat of a routine. They probably have a little more set times where they want to eat and stuff, because I'm very set in the times that I want to eat, and I think that stems from having been incarcerated as a kid a couple times. Okay, and the third thing is I have two kids. I don't currently talk to any of my kids, or unfortunately, because it'd probably be more harmful for me to be in the lives of my children than completely out of it. Based on the fact that me and the mother were oil and water, we didn't mix well, and she married to another guy and had kids with him, and me and that guy, we never got to talk or anything to where we could even establish, hey, you can have the word dad, I'll have the word father. You know what I mean? So like my kids have like a role thing, so they're not confused, because I was in my daughter and son's life for the first, my daughter, I was there for them until she was almost 5 years old. So to say that she doesn't have memories of me, my son, he was a little younger, so it might be a little more gray for him. But the fact that when I would call to talk to my son, I had my daughter and my son calling me by my first name, and my daughter was almost 6 years old, calling me Eric, instead of dad or father or anything, because anytime she referred to her dad or father, she referred to this other guy who is now the replacement version of me. And again, everybody has their own parenting strategies and stuff, and I identified at the point of this occurring that it was not going to be a good situation for the kids if I kept trying to pursue a dominant role in the life. And I still think that paying child support is important, and I would definitely like to reconcile with my kids in the future, but that's not, again, not the point. But those are three things I tell people, and I'll elaborate on that to any woman, and I feel like that's the open line of honesty and trust communication that I'm extending. I don't need to tell people about myself. I don't need to share those things to people. I can keep my kids a secret from any girl I ever dated, especially since I don't talk to them. I don't really have any role in except for the garnishment of my wages and when I work, as child support. But that's not the point. The point is trust. So I dated this girl for 2 years, and she's like, yeah, I'm single. Like when we met, I was like, I'm single, you're single. I haven't been with a girl like kiss, touch, nothing. 2 years, 2 full years. And she's like, oh, I've been single for like a year and a half. And then come to find out later in the relationship, she's getting called by this guy and texted by this guy. And I'm like, who's this guy who keeps texting you? She's like, oh, this is my booty call before I met you. And I'm like, what do you mean booty call? Like, the fuck's that? Like, she's like, oh, well, this guy that I was a cop, and I'd sleep with him from time to time. And I was like, well, how recently from us being together did you sleep with him? She's like, I don't know, maybe a week, 2 weeks. It's like, wait, but you said you were single. She's like, I was single. We're not in a relationship. We just had sex. And it's like, that's a sexual relationship. What are you talking about? You're currently having sex with another person. Like, I wasn't having sex with nobody, kissed nobody, nothing. Like, to sit there and say, I'm single, but you're having sex with somebody on a regular basis, you are in a relationship. I don't care if your head doesn't think that's a relationship. A normal person understands that that is a relationship. So you need to adjust the way you view what a relationship is, because that's a problem for anyone who wants to pursue a more than just sexual relationship with you. So that kind of bothered me, but it wasn't a deal breaker. That was one of her favorite things. She liked to say, oh, deal breaker. So it wasn't a deal breaker. Stayed with her, and we had tiffs about things, and we went round and round on certain issues. We didn't agree on everything, and like rightfully so, nobody's going to agree on everything. She had a couple trips she went on by herself. She went on a Bud Light cruise that we won, going to a bar we went to together. She went on this cruise with her sister. Again, her older sister. She was older than me, but it was a Bud Light party cruise. She won, and she got to go to. And I didn't give her any crap. I didn't interrogate her when she get back. I didn't nothing. That's have fun. How was it? Akon didn't show up or something. Somebody didn't show up to the Bud Light cruise, and it was. We talked more about that and the fact that performers are undependable sometimes in situations that they make previous commitments to, and they're getting paid exorbitant amounts of money to do those things, and they don't show up. But that was again, that was the focus of how was your cruise? Glad you had fun. How was seeing your sister? But then she had another thing she went to where she went to Tampa and stayed in the same hotel room as one of her former bosses, and they went to an IndyCar thing together and watched a race together and stuff. And she came home the next day, and it's like, all right, cool. So 2 years into the relationship, I started teaching a line dancing class. I was a personal trainer, and I was teaching this line dancing class at the gym I was at. And at first, she started coming to the line dancing class, and she would come every week, and she'd help me with my music, and she'd help me with my dances, and she'd kind of be like, another person that knew the dance. So she would stand on the other side of the room, and I stand on one side of the room. So when the line dance turns, walls, you can see more than one person knows how to do it. Well, eventually, after figuring out that no young, attractive women came to my class, and it was just older women that, obviously, she did not feel threatened by, I guess, is the point of that. So she stopped coming to the class. So one night, I had an issue with my phone. I couldn't get the music to work, and I was like, hey, can I take your phone to line dancing class and use it for the music? And she's like, yeah, sure. So I take her phone and I go by myself because she didn't want to come with me. Again, she stopped coming, stopped doing the things that we did together, because I guess that's what you do in a relationship. You just kind of taper off. So I came home, and when I get there, she's got an attitude, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? And she's like, why are you messaging other girls? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, I went through your Facebook and I saw you message this girl. And, okay, I'm going to tell you the context of the message first. Then I'm going to tell you the date that it occurred, and then the time period for when she found it. So I country line dance, and I'm a very good line dancer. And I feel that I'm a very good line dancer. I like my space, and I like to be able to be a little more, flared about. You know what I mean? I spin around and stuff. And there's other guys that do it, and there's girls that do it. We know who we are. We're the ones that show up all the time. We're dancing all the time. So there are certain girls that I enjoy dancing to, or certain guys that if they dance near me, they're not going to run into me or knock me over, step all over my feet. So it's it's enjoyable. So one night I had probably 2 or 3 Long Island iced teas, and I went home and I messaged a girl on Facebook at 2 o'clock in the morning one time, and it said, "It's really nice to dance next to you." Then she messaged me back, and she said, "It's really nice to dance next to you also." That's it. That was it. I never messaged her back. That was at least 6 to 8 weeks before she found the message. She found a message where I sent to the other girl, and a girl sent it back to me, and then nothing ever happened. And I was pissed drunk when I sent the message too. That's my pissed drunk messaging another girl. Hey, nice to dance next to you. Like, come on. Like, that's me trying to get, if that's me trying to get laid, I'm fucking pitiful. Like,